Morning once again. So we started looking at general introduction to Bootstrap, our last class. I gave us the definition of Bootstrap. Can anybody remind us what is Bootstrap? What is Bootstrap? Can anybody try? Quickly. Bootstrap is a library that compile or covers what? HTML, CSS. The major focus, is it actually HTML? The major code that have been pre-written for you in Bootstrap, are they actually HTML or CSS and JavaScript? CSS and what? JavaScript. So you are expected to develop the HTML. The only thing, the reason why is as if HTML is included because some of us, we are copying the samples where HTML code have been written. Element classes. It's all this in the last class. So what I'm going to quickly do before I go into what how we can install or integrate Bootstrap in our projects, right? Remember that I mentioned two different methods. There are various methods. We have the NBN, which is used when working with React. So I skip that method because not it, we're not working with React here. We're working with our own manual projects. So the use method of installing Bootstrap that I mentioned in that class are the offline installation and what? CDN. What is the full meaning of CDN again? Content what? Delivery network, which means that you are automatically synchronizing the CSS and the JavaScripts from their what? Server. That is why if you are using that method, your system will be what? On the internet before you can see the CSS reacting and also JavaScript reacting. They will also have the offline. So what I'm going to do is to quickly recap that, and then we now look at the topic. So I said to be able to install Bootstrap offline, all you need to do is to what? To download it from its website, right? Then unzip it, that is, you extract it in order for you to access the two key files you need, which are what? The CSS and the JavaScript. So you copy them to your project directory, and then you now have to link them, right? Let me just see if I can quickly run through it. So I say you search for what? Bootstrap 5. Bootstrap 5. And then click on the link. Remember, I also said that there are different versions of Bootstrap. Now Bootstrap 3.0. So the differences, the experience when you are using certain version is the classes. Notice that. So I've adjusted the class names, particularly if you are working with the latest version. Okay, so just take note of that. That you might be applying a particular class that has worked for you for with a particular version. It might not be working when you are working with different versions. You just have to know how to blend them. Thank God that you have your AI tools there. So you are having this, you only consult AI. What is the Bootstrap class name for this element? So I said once you get to the Bootstrap page, you go to what? Download option, right? And then from here, scroll down, see what? The download button. So you click on this, and that will download entire what? Bootstrap for you to extract. I also talk about the online installation of what? Bootstrap. That one don't need to download the entire Bootstrap into your project. All you need is just to capture CDN, right? CDN link. And how do we get CDN link? You can get it from, let's say, from the introduction section. You can get it here. So this is the link for what? CSS, right? Why this is for JavaScript. So you can take, for example, we copied this link the other time, and then we went to our projects, then we added it to what? To the head section, right? Now, that is how to install Bootstrap CSS. Now, for it to install Bootstrap JavaScript, copy JavaScript link, and then go back to your project, add it just before the what? Closing body tag, right? So that is all for that class. Now, in this section, we are focusing on Bootstrap read system, right? We are focusing on Bootstrap read system. Focusing on Bootstrap read system. We use comment to Bootstrap read what? System. So this is the order at which you are to learn Bootstrap. Once you understand how to study it, the next thing you understand the grid system. Let's look at the definition of that before we start explaining the main components. So Bootstrap grid system is a flexible. Bootstrap grid system is a flexible layout system. Underline layout. So the emphasis here is layout. 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 Are you with me? That helps you design responsive web pages easily. That helps you design web pages for the responsive web pages easily. So the hustle of making your container to be responsive, I'll be explaining now. The hustle. Remember in the manual section, we have to start calling those containers one after the other, and we say what? At media what? Right? Before we make them what? Responsive to a specified screen resolution. But once we leverage on Bootstrap grid system, that will be taken care of automatically. So let's proceed. Additional note. It uses a series of rows and column. It uses a series of rows and column. I said what? It uses series of rows and columns to align contents on a page. It uses rows and columns to align contents on a page. I don't think there should be anybody that does not know what is called rules by now. Please, if you don't know it, don't hide your feelings. Speak out so that we can explain, because there is no way you can understand grid system without you knowing what is row and column. Do I have such a person here who do not know what is called row? If you all claim you know it, then I will now ask you to tell me what is row. Not describe it. Like row na like this, column na like this. So if it is jam as how you are writing now, you say row na like this, column na like this. What is row? Rows are horizontal what? Containers. As far as web development is concerned, they are container. There, you now tell us whether it's horizontal container or what? Vertical what? Container. We understand that. Not just horizontal space. Let's add the word container. Okay? Now, your entire website is one row. Hope you know that. Your entire website is one row. That row is called the what? The mats. Just like building now. This building that we are in now, before they started demarcating the rooms, there was a general what? Room, right? One row and one column before they started dividing it. So the same concept when it comes to talking about grid system. So you cannot successfully understand grid system in any context without you understanding row and what? Column. Because if you look at the emphasis that I made in that note, there's a place I said it uses what? Series of what? Rows and what? Column. So let's do this way. If you are asked that how do you think Bootstrap is going to enhance or design your web layouts, your responsive web layout, how would Bootstrap achieve that? You say what? With the combination of what? Rows and what? Columns. Now you understand that rows are the horizontal container and columns are the what? Vertical container. Now, we usually have row before we have column. Hope you know that. We must have row before we add column inside it. Now, let's proceed. I just want to explain. Now, before that, look at the screen. I want to sketch this so that you know where we are going. I want to sketch this. Don't mind the drawing. Just sketch it. This is what we are talking about. So this is what? The first row. For example, now, this is the first what? Row. Now, we will now have this particular row can have up to 12 divisions. You can never have beyond what? 12 when you are talking about grid system. So the entire grid system concept is simply what? The calculation of what? Rows and what? Columns. So you divide your own into 12 places. I may not get to 12, but just make sure that you have up to 12. And then you write inside the first one, span 1. Span 1. Then here span 2, span 3, span 4, then toward 12. So if you are asked anytime that can a single row be divided beyond 12 in Bootstrap grid system, the answer is what? No. The highest number of columns you can have in a row when you are designing your grid system, they are what? 12. Now, I'm going to explain why we have this 12. Now, this 12, you will now start calculating their breaking points. Pay attention here. This is just the logic. This 12 column that we have in one what? Row. This is what? 1 by what? By 12, right? Because since we are prioritizing row before column, that is why we say what? The 1 there represents what? Row.
Y column means what? The number of what? Vertical containers inside the what? The single row. So the next thing is for us to calculate the breaking point. We are talking about responsiveness. I think I've broken it down for all before that. For a website to be responsive, we're talking about the adaptability, how that your website can fit or adjust across what? Different what? Screen sizes. When somebody opens the website with a very small device or extremely small device, how does it what? Adjust to fit that size of that device without cutting off some what? Elements. That is word by word, the website is responsive. 100% of website that is expected today should be what? Mobile what? Responsive. So which means that which of the device you should prioritize. If you know you cannot achieve all the devices responsiveness, at least you should what? Achieve one, which is what? I'm asking. Which of the device you should prioritize? Must it be phone, mobile what? Device. So that is why Bootstrap is what? Mobile first. Did you understand it now? Mobile what? First. So the calculation of Bootstrap responsiveness is to make sure that what? Mobile phone. Do you know why? Because statistics have shown out of 100% of people that open, that accessing websites, 90%, if not 95%, using their phone. So why will you waste your time designing website for laptop responsiveness when you have only 5% that will be exploring that your website with laptop? That means you are inconveniencing what? 95% users, and also what? Encouraging what? 5% user. That is not a good calculation. But thank God that Bootstrap has responsiveness for all. And once a new device comes up tomorrow, they will update it in their what? Server. And once they update it, it automatically what? Affects all the websites where Bootstrap was implemented. That is why I advised us that day that you should stay on using what? The CDN link, so that you get updates that happen at the global level than you going without downloading. So when you download, you are not connected to the server consistently. That's what it means. I don't know if somebody understands that. You are not there. You only get the update of that day you downloaded. Any other thing they add, your website will not receive it. Okay, now let me bring it here. Now, this 12 column, you will now start your calculation that if somebody opened this website with a laptop, you should display all the 12 columns in one row. That is what? Laptop responsiveness. What about if somebody opened this website on a tablet? On a tablet, tablet is just like it's smaller than what? Laptop, but it's not as small as what? Mobile device. We are going to look at the resolution as we continue, so that you know the reason why we're using 768 that time when we were manually writing our what? Media query, because that one fall within mobile what? Resolution. So you are supposed to know most of these devices resolution. Now, what we are saying is that if this website is opened with tablets, instead of the 12 of the column displayed in one row, I can say 3 of them should display in one row. That means what? On a tablet, how many rows are we going to get out of 12? If on the tablet, the 12 of them, only 3 are allowed to display in one row, how many rows are you going to have? 4 rows. So it is the Bootstrap that will not divide it without your consent once you are doing the programming. So it's the Bootstrap that will now be calculating any device's what? Size is resolution, and based on the breaking point you have defined, whether SM, which means what? Small device, or medium, or extra large, or large. Once you have specified all these classes, it's now left for Bootstrap to be what? To be calculating the screen. Did you understand that? I just want us to get the concept of the grid system. Now let's continue. Let's continue. Where did I stop? I said it uses what? It uses a series of what? Rows and columns to align content on a web page. Then note, it based on a 12 columns. That is what I just explained. I'm trying to put it in writing. It based on a 12 column layout. That is the highest you can have. It based on a 12 column layout, comma. What does that mean? Meaning that every row can be divided into up to 12 equal columns or equal parts. Meaning that every row can be divided into up to 12 what? Equal parts. That is just to explain that particular illustration. Now, remember I told us something the other time. There is something I explained in the last class that ordinarily somebody can just introduce you to Bootstrap and then from there you grow on your own. Because every element has documentation. What is documentation? Explanation of what? How to use it. You only just to know which one you want to apply. For example, now let's go back to that website now. And do we have grid system here? Check. Do we have anything about what? Grid system. Grid system. Do we have grid system here? Check. This is the website page for Bootstrap. Do we have grid system? So if I go to layout now, do you have grid? No. Now just watch now. Let's assume that Mr. Prosper is not the one teaching you. You can teach yourself. That's what I'm saying, because it's a library. It's just for you to know how to read the documentation. Now look at it here. Use our what? Powerful what? Mobile what? So Bootstrap uses what? Flexbox. You can see when we were writing CSS manually, when we wanted to display things side by side, what were we using? Display flex, right? Good. So it uses Flexbox to build what? Layout of all shapes and sizes. Now let's go down and check some of the examples there. This is what? Explanation on what? How it works. So you spend time here on your own. How does this particular component grid work? Look at it, breaking it down. Here, you check what? Our grid support. You can click here to probably take to what? Where you can ask questions. So breakpoints are based on what? Meaning with media what? Queries. Meaning they affect that breakpoint and all those above what? It. So you can now see what? Call. This call is the general one that will always divide the grid into what? Equal parts. Then once you start bringing SM-4, you are saying that what? It should take 4 out of what? The 12. And the SM there represents what? Small device. The MD represents what? Medium what? Device. The LG means what? Large device. The SL means what? Extra large. SS means what? Extra large, just like your singlet. Your boss. So that is what, now if you now read, you will now see the class you will use. So when you use container fluid, it will give you what? 100%. So now I just want you to understand that, but I'm going back to, now if you now come here now, you can see the full expression, the explanation, and they are what? And then you can even see the what? The screen sizes, where these breaking points are going to what? Happen. At what size will I have what? SM. At what screen size will I have what? MD. At what screen size will I have what? LG. That is what they have broken down here. So devices between what? 5, 7, 6 pixels. They are the one we refer to as what? Extra small. Extra small. The smallest. Then the small devices between what? This to this. So this, the LG between this to what? To this. That is the range. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's go to example has been given to you here. So as a developer, all you need to do is to come here and copy this structure. Do you see the logic now? You copy this structure, and then you go to make sure that your Bootstrap links are already what in place. If not, they are not going to respond. So if I come here now and paste it, so it is now left for me to go and create content inside. So I can remove this and bring in what? Maybe what? H2. And this H2 now has its own what? Bootstrap or class name for it to be responsive, which I've explained. So I'll say what? Welcome to my web training class. So let me copy the whole of that, Control C, and just paste it as a content. But I'm still coming back to explain this. So now let's go to the front end and check whether those items are responsive automatically. Do you see it now? So now, if you want to, you can use your inline CSS addition skill. You see, the whole of those lectures are not in vain. There are times that Bootstrap may not be giving you what you wanted. You go ahead and use inline. For example, now, each of these div with the call, I can come here now and say what? Style. And then say what? Border. If I want to see where one stop. So border, remember, I'll say, okay, maybe one word, PS, solid. You still remember all this, right? Solid. And then let's say what? Red color. So if I go to the front end now, you see that what? I'm able to now use my inline, my manual skill is what I have displayed here now. So if I copy it and put it for each of them so that when it's breaking, so that we can understand what is happening. So I'll just copy the whole of this. Control C, and then come in here, paste it, come in here, paste it to that one. I think that is all right. So let's go back there. So you can see that what? Out of how many columns? How many columns do we have there? How many columns from our code? This is a 1, I mean, this is what? 2. I'm wondering why we are having, is it that there is one that is not close? Let's check. Is it closing? So we have 1, 2, 3. But right now we are viewing only what? Okay, 3, 4. Yeah, I think we still have other ones here. So now let's check the responsiveness now. Let's start reducing gradually. Did you see that what? You keep having what? Those 2, because you have not specified how many of the columns should be if it's on what? Mobile view. That is where that SM, MD, all those SL, LG comes in. Because this call is the base responsiveness what? Class name. So if you now come here now and do something like this, space, SM, and then space, 4. You have calculated different what? Responsiveness for this. That is what? On a small device. On a small device. So if I come here now and I start what? Reduce it again. Did you see that what? Everything has changed now. It's now what? 1 now on a small device. That what? Each one is taking what? Each row. So, but if you do not add that particular, if you don't specify the device you are talking to, let's say SM, if you just apply the call, it will assume that what is, it should make sure that it distributes everything what equally. That's why it was making sure that what the two columns, they were divided equally. So let me give us a few seconds to get here quickly. Let's create a project. We need to be confirming all this as we are going.
All right. Look at the explanation of the classes that enhances that responsiveness. Right, explanation, just to highlight some of the function of those classes. Now, if you check here, the first class was what? Container, right? So let's write dot container. Let's look at the role of that container. The dot container wraps your contents and centers it on the page. The dot container class wraps your content and centers it on the page. So which means that the CSS property to ensure that has been written and you are getting them from Bootstrap. Let's look at the next one, the dot row. The dot row, which is this very one, the dot row. Using that class, what does that mean? The dot row creates a horizontal group. The dot row creates a horizontal group. In brackets, you write a row of columns. A row of columns, like the illustration I gave to us the other time. Then the next one is the dot call. What role is this dot call playing? The dot call. The dot call defines a column inside the row. Defines a column inside the row. Defines a column inside what? The row. So just to add to it, Bootstrap automatically divide them evenly. That is why you notice the other time, before we added this particular device, everything was dividing what? Into what? Equal parts. I said the dot column defines a column inside the row. And then note, Bootstrap automatically divide them evenly. That's equally. So if you check very well, look up here. You know, now I've removed that small device specification. If I try to check the responsiveness again, look at it. No matter how you are dragging it, you keep what? Maintaining them equally. One will not be longer than what? The other. That is what that call that you added to all the div. That is the function of it. So the next one is, I think we can now talk about, right, 12 column system. 12 column system. So here we'll be bringing different concepts now. So this is where we will now start determining, okay, how many divisions we have per row or column. 12 column. Right. You can combine columns as long as total equal 12. You can combine column as long as total what? Equal 12. So here we are focusing on calculating the number of columns we want on our self. Now, for example, here we want it to maintain this. So I can come here now and say what? 4. So who can tell us? I can put 4 here and then come here and put what? Hyphen and put 4. And then come here. I'm just going to be playing with them differently so that you see the impact when you started adding number. So this number that you put now, 4, 4, 4, 4 now, it means that what? If you divide 12 by 4. How many columns are you saying you should have on, how many columns you should have? You have not specified whether on smaller what? Devices. So this is still going to be on what? You are leaving the calculation for what? The Bootstrap now, without specifying which of the devices. So if I go there now, you can see that what? On what? See what happened? Immediately I put that 4. Everything changed back to that. Where are they?
What is the error? The error I'm trying to, it's like there's a place where we miss. Yeah, we after the style inside.
After like color, there's both.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Wait. Let's start from here. DIV, right? Style. Have you? This is the quote now. Oh, yeah. This one is missing now. This one is showing now. This one is showing. So it shouldn't come before the semicolon. It should come after, because that is the total value. That is the total value. So that one has been clear. It should come here. So let me check. So you can see that, okay, one is still not affected, have you? Here is the one. Then was still showing okay, oh, sorry. My H2 has the test. Okay, that other test is for the H2. It's not part of the grid. Okay, no, this should be part of the column now. Eh? Wait, this is the first call, right? This is the content. That is one. The first row have 2 columns, right? Where is the first row? This is the first row now. The first row. Oh. So what I am supposed to have, let me delete all this so that we can understand it better. Now understand. Then we created 2 different rows and we nested different columns inside. So I'm wondering why. We also want to be sure. We're going to have 1 row. Let's use 1 row to practice first before we start nested row. Okay, so those ones are the ones that added the. So let me add it here. I just want us to be seeing what we are doing. Column. Let's border 1 PS. Submit. See? Let me just make this Ctrl-C. You see? Make it red. All right, so that we can understand it. Now, let's try the responsiveness again. You can see that we are having what? The 3 of them. Now, because they are equal, the number of columns, they what? Equal, 4. Now, let me change this to 2 and go back there. You notice what happened? The size have changed. The size. So now so what we are trying to explain is that you can use the number to calculate how big you want the column. Now let's put, if I put 6 here, let's check. You see it now? So 6 now,
has increases in a way that on this particular view, that the three of them can no longer be on the same word line. So if I reduce it now, you see, to maintain it equally, because you are using call, you have not specified the particular device where it will break. So now if I use 6 here, if I use 6 here and I check, so you see what we have here. Now, so that is just for you to know that, but whichever number you are using, you cannot go beyond what? 12. Whichever way you are calculating the division, you cannot go beyond 12. You can see that as soon as I put 12 there, the first one is taking the whole width. That means what? You are supposed to have all the 6 of them. Sorry, the 12 division inside. That is 1. Good. So you can work within that range. That is what we mean by what? The 4, what's it called? The 12, what? Total 12 division. So now let's quickly talk about the responsive columns. Right, heading, responsive column. Because what we are doing is now a responsive what? Rows. Let's look at responsive column. Responsive column. Responsive what? Columns. Right. Bootstrap grids are responsive. Bootstrap grids are responsive. You can control how many columns. You can control how many columns show up at different screen sizes. You can control how many columns show up at different screen sizes. At different screen sizes. Breakpoints. So here we want to talk about the breakpoint now. So let's look at, so you write it like this, break. You write it like this, break point, preface, screen width. So just like on your notes, just like you are drawing a table, you put what? You space it like this. So I'm going to put a value under it. This one should be together. So under the first one, you write extra small, extra small, extra small. That is the breakpoints. Then the preface should be, the preface will be called ranging from 576 pixels. That is the width. That is the preface what? Screen width will be this. For extra what? Small. So all the devices that the resolution are within this, they are referred to as what? Extra small. So which means that you have already captured how the elements will display. Then the next one is small. Remember, you can be using the notation that extra small is denoted as what? X what? X. That is the symbol. XS. That represents what? Extra small. Then the small is represented as what? SM. So what is the preface? Breakpoint is that 576 576, that 576, that is greater than or equal to, that's how you put it, greater than or equals to, greater than or equals to, you put the other sign, greater than or equals to, that same, that is for anyone greater than that 576, falls under what? Small, greater than or equals to 576 PS. So these are different breakpoints. So you're going to see how we are going to be relating with this that I'm giving us now when we start applying them. The next one is medium. Medium. The next one is medium. So the medium is represented as call, empty. Then, and it ranges from greater than or equals to, greater than or equals to 768. So this is the one we normally use when we are doing the manual what? Media query. This one fall within phone. You see, that word is not small, it's not the smallest, and it's not also what? The largest. Medium, in between the large and what? The small and the smallest. So the next one is we have large. We have large. So large is called -LG, and then this is within the range of greater than or equals to 992 PS. So these are different breaking points that we are calculating. So the next one is extra large. Extra large. Extra large. Extra large is represented as what? Called -XL, and then within the range of greater than or equals to 1200 PS. That is extra large. Then we have extra large. We have extra large, which is extra large. Which is represented as XXL, while the other one is what? XL. And then call, this is how we represent it, SS. And then within the range of greater than or equals to 1,4. These are extra large string. All right. Now let's see how we are going to apply this.
So let's quickly look at the application of all those breaking points
that we just analyzed. Now, let's see how you can communicate them to your columns and your rows. So you write example, example. So let me clear the whole of this so that we can manually communicate this, because sometimes when you copy them from the example, even then you may not really understand what you are doing. But since you are learning, we need to practicalize some of them. So remember that we know, I've explained why we have this container, right? It's just like the general one that is constant. Then followed by which one? Dot what? Dot row from the structure I gave you now, right? Dot row. Now, followed by the class, the general class, which is what? Call, where you have not calculating number of what? Size. So I will say dot what? Call. Right? Now, inside this now, I have my content. My content will be welcome to. Welcome to web trading. Welcome to web trading. Now, this particular one, like I've explained, is general one that will always give you equal what? Division. But now you want to calculate the division based on a specific device, like we just highlighted, the breaking point. So how do you now communicate that? What is the first one that now I can now communicate it like this? Let's say this first column, I'm calculating the responsiveness in what? 12. 12. So putting that 12, what does that mean? Let's pay attention here because this is where the logic is. That is the reason why we have to break down that 12, this 12 now, what does it mean? Who can tell us what this 12 means? What are the 12? Remember the distribution. The maximum.
What are you saying to this particular, the element, the item that you are going to program here? How are you specifying the kind of display on a mobile device or on another device? By putting that 12, what are you saying? That's what I want somebody to interpret. That will give you what? This one will display what? 100%, right? Which is 1, right? Which is 1. Inside that row, this one will give you what? 1. Now, on which device are you referring to that this one will display that 1 column? Have you specified the device? Good. So you now say called space, then hyphen, you now say what? Empty hyphen 6. What does that mean? Who can interpret what you communicated here? On a medium device, how many columns are you going to have? 6. If you divide 12 by 6, how many do you get? That is the calculation. Now, if you go back to the front end now, look at this here. Okay, we have not, let me duplicate so that we can be seen there. Let me duplicate this column. We are still inside the row. All already are inside one row. So if I go to the front end now, look at what I have here. I think we should add the style so that we can see the boundary. Border. Good luck. Are you following? So let me add this across the column. Add it here. And also add it here. Now let's check. You see that first one, how many do you have? 2. Because if you divide 12 by 6, you have what? 2. You have 2. That will work on a medium device. Now let's go and check it. Let's reduce it. Let's keep going. You see it now? Once it comes on what? Once it comes on a smaller device, because it was medium. Medium is in between the small and what? It will now display what? Each of them as what? Row. Instead of having the 3 columns in one row. That is what is happening here. So all the content that you must have programmed here, once they come on a screen size that is within this range, they have no choice than to what? To collapse like this. This is the responsiveness. So even as the screen tip increases, the responsiveness what? We keep going. Now let's play around another one. So let's say if I change here to 4, We are still on what? The medium. We are changing here to 4. Let's change it to 4. 4. Because what is happening here and here, and what is happening here and here matters. So you see why it displays 100% on a small device, because it falls back to what we define here. Call 12 divided by 12 is what? 1. That's why we are having them individually. So once it's not within this range, where you say it will display what? 2 initially when it was 6, it will fall back to what? To display this. And when it's displaying this is what? 12 divided by what? 12 is what? 1. That is the reason why when we are adjusting the other time, when we are adjusting, once we get to this, you can see it now. So this is what? That's called what? -12. But once we are within that device, this is what? The division of 12. Now, how are we having 3? Initially, we were having just 2 before, right? Now, I now upgraded to what? 4, 4. Now we are now having 3. What is the calculation? What is the calculation? 12 divided by 4 will give you what? 3. That's why we are having what? 3. I don't know if somebody is getting the logic. That is 3. So if I put 2 there, you'll be the one to tell me what will happen now. If I put here 2, and I put here 2, I put here 2, just guess what will happen. How many divisions are we going to get? 6. Okay. And with you, what do we put there? 6 on what? This on what? Medium. You know, this one is constant now. This one is like falling back to what? To the mobile phone now, the smaller size. What do we put there? We have what? We put 2 there. So let me see. If we put 5 here, put 5 here. So if the division is not possible, you get different what? Response. It will stay on the default. So here we put what? 5. So 5 is equivalent to what? The equivalent to what? 6 now. Now look up here. What we are doing here is the size. The size. So if I put 1 here, what would that be? I'm just trying to play because this is the best way you can understand them. You see that what? Everything be what? So that number that you are putting there, now, okay, sorry, it was on the mobile device before. Now, consider that it's smaller. So which means that what? This particular number here, what is it regulating? The size. That's why when you put 4 here, the current width will increase. See that it's increased now? The size of each of the column. And on media, you will on the medium rather, you will be able to get what? 3 of them. And then when you move to mobile, they will collapse to what? 1 per row. Now let's try and play with them. Oh yeah, let's implement.
The expression, right. Just take note of this. Just a breakdown. Call this. Write it like this. For class. Just want to say something about it. So that will not confuse us when we have them in our Bootstrap grid. Right. In Bootstrap, call -12 is a class that defines a column that spans the full width. Is a class that defines a column that spans the full width. For example, now, when we look at it here, once, can we say that these 3 elements are spanning full width? Hello? Can we say that these 3 elements, they are spanning full width? No. Oh yeah, let me go now. Just watch. How about now?
Look at it like this. Are they spanning full width, each of them? Eh? Now, whatever like this. So if I ask us now, which of the code here now that is making each of them to take the full width is this one now. That is what we are saying. Do you understand it? So let's also have notes on the other one called let's have notes on the other, which is called what? Called was it MD? MD we use that bit? MD4, right? Called MD4. Called MD4. It's a class used in the grid. It's a class used in the grid system to define the width of the column. To define the width. That's why I said that one define the what? The size, the width of the column. So let's go there and check now. So what is actually defining this width? So what's the current from here now? From here to here is what? From here to here is what? Is 4, right? 4. From here to here is 4. That is why when we were changing here, didn't you notice when we put 1 here, how small it was? When we put 1. Look at it. So it's just for you to know that what this is. Now, what we are saying is that, yes, you are calculating width here. This is the width of the column. But what are you saying here? On which device will this width be calculated? Good. So I can change this place to what? What? L what? G. Are you getting it now? To what? L G. So if you are calculating the column width, you need to define also the device what? Breaking point. So if I come here now, what did you notice now? Can you see that what? The same thing that was giving us equal now. It's no longer equal again. Good. Now, if I change it to, it's just this place I'm changing. I'm still maintaining the 4. Yes? Huh? Okay, yeah, okay, sorry. LG. Let's see. Okay, but you can see that the width increase based on the size. So the same thing if you are reducing, it will fall back to what? For 12. That is what you want to give you what? Full width. Let me expand it. Now let's change it also. So we can put which other notation again? SS, right? SS what? L. So I'm leaving this one to the what? SSL. And this one you can define different devices what? Widths. So which means that what? The first row 4 is on what? Medium. Why this one 4 is on what? So if I come back here now, you see that what? They are no longer what? Equal again. So if you want them to be equal, you maintain the same device. You can increase it. You can create responsiveness for all the what? The devices. And how are you going to define that? This is what you do. You now come here and say space call hyphen. You now say what? SS hyphen 4. So which means that you are creating room for each of the devices. All of them have what? Responsiveness. Instead of just using one. So you can now give space again and say what? Call hyphen the other device again. All those breaking points I gave us now. We have an SM, SM, and then the size. I'll say, okay, you can vary it like this. So if you go back to the front end now, let's try and Once it comes to that, for every device, you have created what? Responsiveness. So there is no time that the elements will break or will scatter, because you try to capture, but there is a default one. If you don't specify any of this and you specify this, it's responsive. The only thing is that what is not being controlled across what these different what devices, but at least there is, or there are some level of what responsiveness instead of you not putting it at all. So that is all about what Bootstrap what grid system. Any question? So your assignment is to go and study more of it, because the next class I am going to be teaching us are two at once. Yes, Bootstrap card and what Bootstrap navigation bar design. Then we will now start implementing it for a real project. But we have to learn grid systems separately. But when we are learning Bootstrap card, Bootstrap, then we are creating content. We have Bootstrap navigation. So the whole of that navigation bar that you design that is not responsive, you are going to go and substitute Bootstrap what? Navigation what? Classes into those elements so that they will start being what? Responsive. Or you start afresh. Any question?